I've worked with thousands of people from all around the world, and there's one thing that I've noticed that applies to almost every person I've worked with, that when they remove the coping mechanism, whatever addiction that is, it could be alcohol, drugs, gambling, exercise, food, porn, you name it, whenever that addictive behaviour is removed, they find that there's often something else that needs working on. And that something else is what we end up working on in that second phase of sobriety, which is an incredibly powerful period of self-growth, where we end up healing the wounds that we've usually carried from our childhood into adulthood. Now, this can sound scary. And for some people, it can be enough to put them off ever entering into sobriety in the first place. Don't let that be you. In this video, I'm going to ask you 10 questions to help you understand whether there's aspects of your past that are influencing you as an adult. And don't worry, because if you answer yes to any of them, you can heal them. And this is the beautiful gift of sobriety, because all the time that we're in the tight grip of addiction, we're unable to look at any of this stuff. We're unable to heal. Sobriety opens the door to long-term healing and complete freedom from all of these challenges that have probably been holding us back, and were at the root of the reason why we ended up drinking or turning to other addictions in the first place. So here we go. These are the 10 questions, and they're from my new book, How to Heal Your Inner Child, which is actually out today, the day that I'm making this video. So if you haven't got yourself a copy of the book, hop onto Amazon, grab a copy now. If you want to get it on audiobook, I actually voiced the recording. So if you're not sick of my voice already, there's another 10 hours of the book waiting for you right there. But either way, I would love you to get this book. It's not a book that's specifically about addiction. It's about what happens afterwards. And in fact, there are people without addictions who will benefit from this book. People who know that they experienced a challenging childhood or had trauma during their younger years. This book will absolutely help them. But many people don't even realise that they experience some form of childhood emotional neglect or potentially some form of trauma, yet it can be as powerful as PTSD. And in many cases, it's actually diagnosed as complex PTSD, which is where we experience the same sort of traumatic event over and over, or slightly different traumatic events over and over. That was what happened in my case. So let me share these 10 questions with you, because I believe they can help point you towards an understanding that there may be something else for you to work on, and that this is very likely what's at the roots of the reason why you turn to addictive behaviour in the first place. So question 1, do you have a sense that something's wrong with you, but you just don't know what it is? That was absolutely the case for me. And I'm not going to share my experience with each of these questions, because this book is written from a personal perspective as well as a therapy style perspective too. And believe me, I answered yes to almost every one of these questions. The second question is, do you have a feeling that you're empty inside, kind of hollow, or like you have a void within? Question 3, do you react badly to rejection, or when you have a sense that you've been abandoned? Question 4, do you feel sad, unhappy, or down for no obvious reason sometimes? Question 5, would you describe yourself as highly sensitive? That is absolutely me. And I'm pleased to say that all of these are areas of my life that I've worked on. So you can see that I've worked my way through this. And in my book, I've shared how I did that and how I managed to heal. I want that for you. So please listen carefully to these questions. And if they apply, get your hands on the book, read it carefully, learn from it, and grow with it. Question 6, do you have problems with relationships or intimacy? It's common to see people with addictive traits turn into codependency in their relationships, where their emotional well-being relies on somebody else. That can be highly dysfunctional. So just think about what your relationships look like, whether you're finding yourself often down or depressed or in a really bad mood. Maybe there's conflict, angry outbursts, whatever it may be. Just think about what your relationships look like. Question 7 is around addictive behavior. People who find that they're drawn towards behavior like overworking, over-exercising, overeating, alcohol addiction, drug abuse, you name it, that generally they've got something going on from their past. They're usually using whatever their addiction is as some form of coping mechanism to numb themselves out from the uncomfortable feelings that they've carried from their childhood into adulthood. Those feelings, those childhood wounds are still causing pain in adulthood. When we discover our addiction of choice, it feels like it heals the problem, but it doesn't. It makes everything worse. So just think about how addiction has shown up in your life. Question 8 is around self-esteem. What does your sense of self-worth feel like? Do you have a sense that in some way you're not good enough? Again, that is a surefire sign that there's something going on from your past. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. There are other videos on my channel that talk about how to address this if you're finding yourself answering yes to the questions. But my advice would be to get the new book. That's not just because I want to plug it, which I absolutely do, but I truly believe that it's a book that's going to help people change their lives and rip up the roots of the problem. The roots of addiction can be torn up with this, and not just addictive behavior, any issues around childhood trauma or childhood emotional neglect, because it doesn't always result in addictive behavior. So think about what your self-worth looks like. For me, the biggest indicator of some form of childhood wound is when we have a very low sense of ourselves, and that comes out in a very, very simple statement: a feeling of being not good enough. The 9th question is to ask yourself whether you have a sense that you're kind of numb to your feelings and emotions. I went through an incredibly long period from childhood right up until I started working on myself where I actually couldn't tell how I felt. Sure, there were times I was angry, times when I was sad, but I didn't truly know what was going on. My mind and my body and my feelings and emotions, none of it was connected together. I'd put up an emotional brick wall. I couldn't love others. I couldn't love myself. It was a really uncomfortable, isolated place to be in. Take a moment to consider whether you can really feel your feelings. How in tune are you with your emotions? What's going on there? Because if you can't, believe me, it's fairly simple to heal this and to start bringing a mindful attention to it, but you need to acknowledge that it's happening in the first place. Finally, the 10th question is, how often do you feel true joy and true happiness in your life? If you feel that it's lacking, then again, this book is for you. It's been written for you. You absolutely need to check it out. There's a link above me right now. If you click on that, it will take you to Amazon. You can read more about the book. You can check out a sample of the audio book. As I say, I narrated the audio book, so if you're not sick of my voice, then it's absolutely for you. And I'd love you to leave a comment on this video and let me know what you think. If you've read the book or if you're partway through, just leave a comment. Share what takeaways you got from it, how it helped you, because your comment will help other people. But I'd love you to check that out and share with the community. I'll see you again on the next video soon, and I really hope the book helps you to heal.